What I'm doing is definitely can be considered weird, but sometimes it's the weirdest stuff that becomes the most inspiring. So what's weird today is inspiring tomorrow and classic 10 years from now.
The story of Smooth McGroove, this week on Upvoted by Reddit. Welcome to episode 2 of Upvoted by Reddit. I'm your host, Alexis Ohanian, and if you haven't listened to our first 2 episodes featuring the stories of Dante Orpilla and James Irwin, you really should. So go ahead, take a listen. I hope you've been enjoying this podcast so far. We've been having some great discussions on r/upvoted. Yes, we have our own subreddit for this, so please continue the conversation there after you're done listening, or even while you're listening, as long as you're not listening and driving and Redditing, because that's just not safe. Those 2 stories came from a couple of very popular Reddit communities, r/IAMA and r/AskReddit, respectively. Today, we're going to profile someone who's bubbled up across the various gaming communities in the Reddit network, as well as even a few of the musical ones. He's a musician, albeit a rather unconventional one, and I have been guilty of comparing him to Michelangelo on several occasions, to which he reacted like this.
Wow. Well, that's a stretch.
That is the voice of Max Gleason, also known as Smooth McGroove. Mr. McGroove, or Smooth to his friends, has made an entire career for himself doing a cappella renditions of music from video games. And he's done it all from his home in Oklahoma. His YouTube videos have hit the #1 spot across a number of different Reddit communities. He remembers first bubbling up on r/Zelda, but I have looked and found him everywhere. r/gaming, r/Metroid, r/Smash Bros. The list goes on. We wanted to meet the man behind Smooth McGroove and understand how he was able to make a career out of something that even 10 years ago, most people probably wouldn't have even considered art. First, we're going to pay some bills and then come right back with the story of Smooth McGroove. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. They're the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. Start with a free trial at squarespace.com with no credit card required. When you're ready to purchase a plan, use the offer code UPVOTED at checkout and you'll get 10% off. That's squarespace.com, offer code UPVOTED. This episode is also brought to you by Igloo. Igloo is an intranet you'll actually like. It's a software solution built with easy-to-use cloud apps like shared calendars, Twitter-like microblogs, and file sharing. Igloo is even free for up to 10 people. So, try Igloo today at igloosoftware.com/upvoted. Now, the story of Max Gleason, also known as Smooth McGroove.
I grew up in a suburb of Oklahoma City, just kind of normal suburban neighborhood. I rode my bike around the neighborhood, listened to music, watched Saturday morning cartoons, play with Legos, all that stuff. But I think the difference was I played a lot more video games than most of the people around. Huge fan of Sega, my Sega Master System.
Max's father actually worked at a pawn shop, and that's how young Max was able to get his very first console.
In fact, it was an old Atari was the first one, but he brought that back to work and traded it for a Sega Master System whenever they got one of those in. So the earliest memory I have of like really falling in love with the game was probably the original Phantasy Star. Well, it's probably 7, maybe 6. Somewhere around there. I was old enough to kind of be able to intellectually engage with a game of that depth, but I wasn't old enough to beat it. I couldn't understand a lot of the complex systems because I was just so overwhelmed. Those early RPGs were so straightforward. There was no internet walkthroughs or anything like that. So, but yeah, that was the first game that I remember just being in complete awe of because I couldn't beat it in the depth and the colors and the story and just, going to bed and thinking about it.
Max's other great passion growing up was music.
My parents actually were both in a band as I grew up, like in a classic rock band. They covered Pink Floyd and the Eagles and all sorts of stuff. So our garage growing up was a band practice room. So I was exposed to music all the time. There were guitars laying around the house, a piano. My mom sang as she did the dishes and stuff. So I was kind of saturated in music. I couldn't even help it growing up. My earliest like memories of being really into music was, my dad playing records. Like he'd wake us up with AC/DC on Saturday morning, or the Beatles. He was a huge Beatles fan. So I was exposed to all that stuff. But on my own, I remember being about 8 years old and hearing a Green Day song come on MTV. And I was just like, that's awesome. So, it just from all angles, at the same time as being in love with humming the Zelda Link to the Past, Dark World theme at recess at school, to going home and having my dad blast Sgt. Pepper's, through the speakers in the living room. I mean, it was just everywhere.
Though Max's first big foray into music was when he learned how to play drums.
I took music seriously starting in about 11 years old. I started taking drum lessons because I had taken piano lessons before, but that kind of was just, piddling around 8, 9 years old. That didn't last. I was too distracted by other things as a kid. But yeah, I took drum lessons starting at about 11 and took them all the way through till I was a senior in high school. And that enabled me to play in bands as I was in, 8th, 9th grade, all the way through high school. So that was when I started performing. But being a drummer, it was different because I had a lot of, and I still have kind of a stage fright thing where I don't like to be the center of attention up on stage. It always made me feel really strange and totally out of place. But drums were great because I was behind everyone. So I could be up there doing my thing, but the guitar player and the singer were staying in front of me. So I was always kind of the background guy doing my thing, playing drums. In fact, out of high school, I continued drumming in college for bands and for the University of Central Oklahoma, playing jazz drums in the jazz band up there, which was a whole different education.
It goes without saying that it is very hard to make a living with music. So at this time, Max worked a 9 to 5.
I worked at my dad's music store in Oklahoma City, and that's pretty much just worked there for a while. And then, after college hit, an opening came up in my dad's music store to teach drum lessons. And I took a lot of drum lessons, and, I was up at UCO doing jazz drums at the time. I was able to play pretty much any genre, I'd played in metal bands, jazz bands, punk bands, normal rock bands. So I was able to teach, drum lessons, which I did for probably 8 years straight. And that was pretty much my day job.
At this time, Max got himself a basic home recording setup and started writing his own songs.
Well, as most drummers, I was kind of a struggling, frustrated songwriter. So I started writing music as early as I could on a computer platform, because it was all I had, is all I could afford. I think it was 2004 when I had some crappy digital recording software that someone burned on a CD for me, and I hooked in a MIDI keyboard, and I learned how to work MIDI samples, which is just electronic music, music samples. And we hooked in a microphone to the back of my sound card and just started messing around. I tried to mic my drum set with that, and I never lost the passion for wanting to make something awesome, because I get pumped when I hear really good music or see people do really awesome things. It's man, you know what? If I can do one thing in life that's just awesome, and I can, feel what I feel whenever I encounter that awesome stuff, but be able to be a part of it somehow. And that's what I wanted. So it was, about 2 years ago, I just, I was going to school. It pretty much realized I wasn't going to be a music major. Didn't want to do that. Didn't want to be a band teacher. So I was man, I got to get, because teaching drum lessons is fun, but it was never growing enough to be an actual career, because there just aren't enough aspiring drummers. My brother's a guitar teacher. He had 3 times the amount of students that I had at any given time. My dad also teaches guitars. So I was always struggling compared to them as far as in that career path. So I was I released all that kind of fear that I had of making music and just decided, you know what, I'm going to make music just for fun. I'm going to go in it without any preconceived notions. I'm going to do it just off the intuitive inspiration I get, when I'm in the shower and I'm just humming something random, right? And so that's what led me to recording again, posting stuff on Bandcamp, and shortly after YouTube. And, Bandcamp and YouTube for me were just outlets. They were just ways for me to post my ideas, my mostly finished projects, songs. And most of the stuff I was posting was just kind of goofy, but it was enough to kind of get my wheels rolling, I guess you could say.
From this, Smooth McGroove was born.
It was a joke. I just wanted some anonymous name that I could, put out music on the internet, and a Smooth McGroove popped up, and I couldn't stop laughing. And I was just like, that's it. And so I did it. And the first time I ever posted an acapella video, I didn't know what to think about it. It was a fun project for me. I showed it to my mom, and she was just like, wow, this is really cool. This is so different. And it was enough for me to go, okay, well, someone who doesn't really care about video games can get some enjoyment out of this. So I kept making it. And I think it was about a month after that, I had posted the Song of Storms from Ocarina of Time. And I actually posted, I made a little Reddit post about it because I was like, man, maybe I could show some people on Reddit this. And I think it got like 50 upvotes or something. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. The internet being what it is, I wanted some feedback for my stuff because, being a guy recording in his living room, with the limited stuff I had, I was like, man, I'm trying to make the best stuff I can, highest quality. I want other people's advice on like my production. How do they like this format? Because I was having fun with it and I wanted to share it. And the Ars Zelda was just seemed like the perfect place. And I think it was that evening I was on voice chat with my brother and some friends, and we were playing some games at the time. And my email just like all of a sudden had like 24 new messages. I was like, what? My Gmail and I was like, so-and-so has subscribed to you. So-and-so subscribed. It's like, oh, wow. That's maybe it backed up or something. And then it just kept coming and kept coming. And this is my normal email. I had to keep like marking them all as read. I was like, what the heck happened? And my brother, I was like, dude, something happened, man. I keep getting these emails. And we started doing some investigating. And my brother's the one who found out that like the Nintendo Facebook page for Legend of Zelda had posted my Song of Storms. And it had just gotten so much exposure from that. So like, I think my YouTube channel went from like 100 subscribers to like 1,000 subscribers in like 12 hours or something. And it was just like the most surreal feeling. Cause I was like, man, maybe if 100 people will eventually watch my videos, that'd be pretty cool. Maybe I'll have enough inspiration to keep doing stuff and being creative. But that was just completely unexpected.
Smooth's rendition of Song of Storms currently has over 1.8 million views on YouTube. Remember, he's making all of those noises with just his mouth. Soon after his initial success, Max had a crazy idea. Maybe he could make creating video game acapella music his full-time job.
Man, it was several months, maybe a month and a half after that first kind of thing hit, and I was like, it was enough inspiration to keep going. And I was like, okay, if I can improve on this, I can do better. I can maybe learn more about what I'm doing because obviously more people are watching now. So I think I posted the Mega Man X Spark Mandrill theme, and I was extremely proud of like how that turned out. I had more confidence in my vocals than ever. I had more confidence in like the way I was mixing than ever. And I posted that one. It got even more traction on sites like Kotaku and all these other blogs. And then I did Guile's theme. And because I was like, man, if I could do something like Spark Mandrill, I can pull off Guile's theme, and I posted Guile's theme, and the feedback was like exponential from that. And it was just, I think it was that night, I remember I posted that video. My wife and I went out to get like a milkshake or something just to like, because I needed to chill. I had a big week of recording and editing. And then we get home and, I open my email and stuff, and I'm looking at the feedback, and it's, overwhelmingly positive, just really supportive. And it's just like, man, I had this epiphany. I was just like, I think if I went all in on this, like focused on this and just kind of, put everything else aside, I could make this, a living. I think that I could, stay consistent. I could stay, I could even get better at it as I go, maybe even do some different stuff. And, because I was looking at like, the fact that you can actually make some money off YouTube views. I never really knew that, but it was at that point I was like, okay, man, I think if I put my mind to this, this could be something that I could build up, because if this is a good starting point, as any, I could build this up to something that's even better, even bigger, and I'm only one person doing this. So it's a lot of work, but, for me, I'm a very project oriented guy, always have been. So to me, this was like the ultimate creative project for me. And I was just in that mindset to where I just said to myself, let's do this. And my wife was just like, okay, I think you can do it. So it was that, positive feedback that really helped me make that decision.
Not only was he getting the positive feedback from his awesome wife, but he was also getting a larger and larger fan base. As one of those fans, my favorite would have to be Guile's theme song from Street Fighter 2. It now has over 7 million views. It topped out on a number of Reddit communities, including r/gaming, and the headline pretty much sums up how I feel about it. It's submitted a year ago by IDMA, IDMA, and this user for the headline wrote simply, "From now on, this guy should be the official instrument for all games." Let's have a listen. We're going to go back and talk to Smooth a little bit more, but before we do, I wanted to take a minute to talk about Squarespace. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're a creator like Smooth McGroove, Squarespace is a great place to build an affordable and beautiful website with zero coding experience. If you haven't checked out all the updates in Squarespace 7, you really should. It's a much simpler interface, like really, really simple. You don't have to switch from front end to back end. There's integration with Google Apps, a new partnership with Getty Images that'll give you access to a wide variety of great stock photos for your site, and all of it is just $8 a month. So you get a free trial, no credit card required. Just head over to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to get a plan, use the offer code UPVOTED to get 10% off. You'll be getting a great deal, and you'll be supporting this podcast. That's squarespace.com, offer code UPVOTED, UPVOTED. And now, back to the story of Smooth McGroove. Due to his continued success, Smooth was able to quit his job teaching drums.
I think it was, April of 2013. I remember going to the place I was giving drum lessons at and telling them, I think 2 weeks from now, I'm going to call it quits, or maybe a month. I'm not sure. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, because I remember their response was just like, "Oh, okay, well, good luck, man. Hope your acapella videos, because it's such a niche thing that I had going, and still do, because not a lot of people played these video games, especially in like Oklahoma, I guess. Most people that I have encountered, they'd heard of Zelda and maybe played a Mario game or something like that. But whenever it came to like, the people that I encountered day to day, most people would have never been supportive of this. They would have just said, "Oh, that's a fun thing, but keep your day job." And it was really the feedback that I got from the internet that really gave me enough confidence and gave me enough kind of willpower to reinforce my own drive to, do this. So it was April of 2013. Quit giving lessons. I finished up my last semester at college, and just, I think, from then on, it was a good year and a half straight of just singing, recording, mixing, man.
And his fans were absolutely integral to this success.
It was just the fact that they were willing to not only like watch a video or listen to a song, but like make a comment, under the YouTube video, or, buy a song, from one of the places I licensed with, or, whenever I started Patreon, it was whenever I started a Patreon, that they were willing to like, donate $1 for every video that I put out, and it was just all these things coming together. It was just it was like huge for me. It felt so big, and it felt like, I can't even describe it really. It was just that feeling that allowed me, and that gave me the confidence to squash not only the doubts, but to push forward like the stuff that I really wanted to do, which was make music in some form, some way. And it just happened to be through this video game music platform with me singing all the instruments.
Normally, monetizing YouTube videos is not easy. You need a lot of volume to be able to make a comfortable living. And 2 years ago, YouTubers would receive $1 to $3 for every 1,000 views, if they were lucky. A video with 1 million hits was only worth roughly $1,000 to $3,000 in income. So coming up with alternate revenue sources, such as selling songs on Bandcamp and eventually on Patreon, was incredibly important for Max. Now, disclosure, I'm an investor in Patreon. It is a crowd patronage platform where fans donate a monthly sum to creators or donate for every creation. This gives them recurring revenue. In Max's case, it's what allowed him to turn what started out as kind of a joke into a sustainable business.
I really didn't expect it. I expected it to kind of just be, another way for me to kind of help support myself. Because again, YouTube views are one thing, but I dabbled in, well, maybe I can, sell some shirts, sell some, license some albums and all this stuff. And whenever the Patreon thing came up, I was like, okay, well, maybe this could be something where I could help, pay my rent every month. But it grew more than I thought it would. And it got to the point to where Patreon was like, pretty much my number one source of income. And it was just so, I had two feelings. I had one of just overwhelming thankfulness, just gratefulness, because, got bigger than I thought. But the second feeling I had was almost like overwhelming, like I don't know what to do because I felt like I struggled, and I still struggle with the feeling that I owe these people something. Like, not only are they supporting me, but like I owe them a product no matter what. And I struggle with that toward, it was more this year than anything because Patreon, the Patreon donations got bigger and bigger, and I didn't really know how to cope with that 100%, So I had to kind of step away and realize that, okay, I started this for fun and I'm super grateful for all the support from all these people. Of course I blast them with stuff like that on Patreon through the posts, but it was just for a single, just a dude making music on the internet. It's a lot to cope with, at least for a guy like me.
Smooth is currently making almost $2,700 a video. Through crowdfunding, he was able to make a 6-figure income without even leaving Oklahoma.
It allows me to wake up in the morning, and the first thing I think about is, what music am I going to record today? It's amazing because it's allowed me to, I just recently upgraded my recording setup, which I never would have been able to do. I've upgraded my microphone already, which has, up the quality of my audio. Early on, I was able to upgrade my camera. I went from an old, camcorder to an actual DSLR with really good, color saturation, which, helped the videos. Just all these little things that just, it's huge because I feel like I'm almost obligated to take that support and put it back into what I'm doing, which, either recording gear. I don't know. For a guy like me, it's amazing.
Though Max wanted to share the key to his success and advice for aspiring artists.
Well, if you've got a black cat and he's a cool cat, he's got to be a part of what you do, I guess, especially if you live in a small apartment like I used to. And long story short, he's in every single one of my videos, except for one. And there were complaints. So it kind of became a game where people would look and see which frame Charles would show up in. Well, the most important lesson is to find something that you enjoy, that you think about, and it makes you just really happy, and go for it. That is the number one piece of advice I can give to anyone wanting to do, anything. Their preconceived notions, it's hard to make it in music. It's impossible to make it in music, blah, blah, blah. And that stigma hangs over every musician. So I would say the same thing. Find the music that you love the most, because that's the only way that you're going to, have enough, juice to keep going. Because I can say, from firsthand experience, if you do something that you're not 100% into, it, and it's not going to last. Even if you think it's going to be successful, you've got to put some of yourself into it. Just keep the hope, because that's what kept me going.
Max is currently on a little break, recharging his batteries and planning the next big steps for Smooth McGroove.
I'm at a phase where, I've taken a few months off, and it's been good. It's allowed me to kind of gather my bearings. I guess it was all on me, because I don't have a manager. I don't even have anyone that I'm working with this project at all. I do all the mixing, all the recording and everything. So, it hit a point where, like, with Patreon, with my, t-shirt sales, with YouTube, with the album sales and recording every week and all this stuff, just managing it. And of course, I'm kind of a project oriented guy, so I like to keep a watch on everything. And I don't know, there's a lot of really good that I still feel about this, but it's kind of like I heard a quote last year from a fellow YouTuber who said, "I can see why some people have the want or the need to like drop off the face of the earth for a while." and it was like I started understanding that quote, because at the time I was like, man, that sounds pretty harsh. But not that I ever want to drop off the face of the earth, but like for the past few months, I haven't made a video, or posted a video rather, let's say that, because I kind of needed to step back a little bit and gain some perspective. Because, again, this all being on me, I kind of needed to like step back, gather my stuff, realize why I started this in the first place, and kind of approach it with a fresh start. And that's what I've been trying to do recently. And I've got a lot of ideas. I've got a lot of ideas for original music, a lot of ideas for, other video game stuff that I want to tackle, and that may involve even more than me just singing.
Finally, Smooth wanted to share a special message for all of you Redditors out there.
Well, I just say I'm super appreciative of the people who, the few people who saw me post early on when I was just kind of putting my feelers out there with my videos. And for those of you who, made some inspiring comments and, upvoted, because I can't even tell you how much that meant to me back then, as a dude who was just kind of putting out weird content, hoping other people would like it or give feedback. I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you, Smooth McGroove. And if any of you would like to reach out to him, you can find him on Reddit with the username Smooth McGroove. We're going to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, and while that's going on, I'm going to be regretting not asking Smooth to do an a cappella version of our theme song. This episode is also brought to you by Igloo. They made this show possible. They also make great intranet possible. It is really important, and I know most people don't expect it, but really, that's what they've built. Easy to use cloud apps like shared calendars, ways to assign activities, ways to share progress with your team, Twitter-like updates, and file sharing all make this platform not just easy to use, but actually kind of fun. One of the best parts about the platform, though, is that it is free for up to 10 people. So you can just try it. No risk. See if you like it. And they are a great Canadian startup that want to grow with you. So try Igloo today at igloosoftware.com/upvoted. Again, that's igloosoftware.com/UPVOTED. You can keep up with Smooth on YouTube at youtube.com/smoothmcgroove. That's SMOOTHMCGROOVE. And at Patreon at patreon.com/smoothmcgroove, spelled the same way. In this episode, we featured Smooth's rendition of Song of Storms, Guile's theme song, and Dire Dire Docks. You can purchase those tracks on louder.fm. Links to those songs are in the show notes. And as always, you can reach us all on Reddit at r/upvoted. Please give us your feedback on this episode, listen to those previous episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Overcast, and see you next week on Upvoted by Reddit.